Good afternoon. This is Tim Selden and Rob Amos, and happy holidays to you all. I hope that you're enjoying a long needed rest, whether you're in the northern hemisphere or in the southern hemisphere and enjoying summer vacation. Um, we decided to hold this impromptu webinar because a number of people emailed us at the Montessori Foundation asking about how do I enter after the fact lessons that I know I gave, but I don't see recorded. How do I use the record keeping system? And knowing that for many people, this is the first full year of using Montessori Compass, it seemed to us to be really appropriate to to hold this session. I am recording it, and I will post the recording online. Hopefully, at this point, you're seeing Rob Amos's screen, and he's going to be doing most of the presentation. Before we begin, I just want to say a few things. Montessori Compass is, in my opinion, a really useful tool because it is meant to be used on an ongoing basis, not during the holiday break as a sort of a fill in everything you meant to do. And it's meant to be very different from the typical clipboard and checklist that people are used to using. The idea in ideal practice is you keep records on an ongoing basis, whether you make the notes that day, whether you make them at night, whether you make them on the fly, or whether you choose to do it once a week, which I think is much riskier. The goal is to not have to repeat anything and to keep really careful notes of what you're seeing, of what you're noticing, even appending, if you want, photographs that you take on a smartphone or an iPad to the record. Um, Obviously, like any software, it takes time to get used to it. But I think that one of the things for many of the teachers I know that is absolutely true is it works best if you're using it on an ongoing basis and not as a catch up. But it can be used as a catch up as well. One of the things that I didn't realize when I helped one of the teachers at our lab school to start entering data, or we looked at data, we noticed that the parents had never been sent any reports. And we had set our report to send out a report every day at 5 o'clock. And what we discovered is if somebody entered something at night, it never got sent the next day because it's once every 24 hours beginning on the day, 12:01 a.m. is the beginning of the day. So if you want something to go out to the parent, if you want them to see it, it's a good idea to enter it during the day. The alternative to that is to set your reporting, parent communication setting to once a week, and that way on Friday, they'll get a report of everything that you saw during the week. They'll still get any notices of emails or messages you sent within the system. They just won't get the report of any lessons you've given or any comments that you wanted to send within the observation side of Montessori Compass. So without any further ado, the purpose of today's meeting is to help those of you who are feeling like you could use a refresher to understand how to go back after the fact and enter data that you know darn well you gave these lessons, or you should have had this in the system. You want to put it in now, and then how to turn it into an editable, polished form that can be worked with before finally making it available to parents. So I'm going to turn it over to Rob.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Rob Amos. I'm one of the co-founders of Montessori Compass. I hope everyone's enjoying the holiday season. My family sure is, and appreciate everybody taking the time here. So, what we want to do with this workshop is we've been receiving a lot of requests from folks who were getting their progress reports together and just had a lot of questions, and also want to go through the process of how do you go about doing that, but also there's a few kind of tricks and things that you can do to really optimize your progress reports and make the whole process a lot more seamless. Now, we recently recorded some new videos that I would encourage anybody to watch, especially newer users who may be unclear with some things on kind of the general how-to stuff. And in this session, we're going to focus a bit more on some of the best practices. Just show you there's a customer support link in the upper right corner, and we're in the process of overhauling our knowledge base here, but there's a new videos right here at the top, and there's 6 orientation videos here, one about progress reports. This video will walk you through step by step each aspect of the progress report. So anything that you miss on this session, feel free to obviously watch this, and you can always contact us with questions. Now, we're going to go into our backpack, and we're going to go click on progress reports. So here's a list of all the progress reports that I have available for this classroom. Okay, here's my other classrooms. If I'm an administrator, I can go into the other classrooms, but we're going to stay in our primary room today. And here's a list of all the progress reports that we presently have available. If I want to create a brand new progress report, I'm going to click on the Create Report button. I can give my progress report a name. I make sure I choose the correct classroom. And I can choose what we refer to as a personal growth template, which we'll be talking about in a few moments. Now, all a progress report is just a list of what the child has been doing in the classroom over a period of time. So you can run progress reports whether it's once a year, once a semester. You can do it once a week. It doesn't really make a difference, but you choose your dates right here. So you have a start and an end date. And then you can choose what we refer to as a legend, which we'll also be talking about. And then this is really important here because I think there's some confusions on here. The default setting is to show what we refer to as our summary tab. The summary tab, and I'll give you an example of this in a moment, doesn't tell the parents a whole lot. There's no names of the lessons or what the child was actually doing. It's basically just kind of a number of lessons that they had in a category and some comments. So this, if you're not looking to bring the parents in, you know, and let them know exactly what the child was doing, the summary is an option. The more common option that we find that most schools are choosing is what we refer to as the comprehensive tab. And that would then list out all the names of the lessons and give a lot more information. And I'll show you an example of that as well. In most cases, you would not want to do both of these. So it's kind of an either or. You can show both, but it would not really be necessary to do that. So you choose whichever option you want here. And then the standards for the schools that are using the Common Core State Standards alignment. That, of course, is the automatic alignment that takes place as part of our scope and sequence. You may wish to go ahead and share the standards report as part of this progress report. So that's an option you have as well. You do not have to do that. It's something you opt into. But once you get this all set up the way you want, then you click Create Progress Report. I'm not going to do that right now because I already have one here that's ready to show you. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my progress report, and here's all of my students. Now, obviously, one of the key benefits of using an online record-keeping system such as Montessori Compass is, you know, just by going through that process of creating a report and choosing your date range, and you know, we're going to go ahead and pull all the records in that given period of time in just a matter of a few seconds here. Now everything is ready to go. So here's all the children that we have in our system here, and everything is in edit mode right now. So it's very important to note that progress reports are something you can run these as a tool in the middle of the school year at any point if you would like to just go ahead and examine how a child is doing. I mean, so this can be used. It doesn't have to be shared with parents. It's important to note that parents do not see anything right now. It is a 3-step process where you need to actually go through the process of publishing. So you have the edit mode right here where you're going to go in and edit the report. When it's edited and you have your comments in there and you're ready and you're basically done with it, you click this Ready to Publish button. And now what this has done is gone ahead and pushed it on over here, so it's ready to be published. All this Ready to Publish button is a check mark. It's basically a list of the 20 children in your classroom, and you check off the ones that are done and you put them in the done pile. That's all that is. It doesn't mean the parents see it yet because we have not published it yet. So I can now choose to publish Maria's report on her own, or I could just wait till I get all the other ones done and I can publish them all at the same time. So you can do that however you would like. And you can still, after something's ready to be published, and even after it has been published, you can always go back and edit. So I'm going to click on the edit report right here. And this is what the progress report looks like in edit mode. It's also what the parents see as well. It's very similar without the editing capabilities, of course. But this is how it is laid out to the parents as well. So you remember we were talking about the idea of having a summary tab and a comprehensive tab. But in most cases, you're not going to want to have both of these. I'm showing you just for example purposes right now. So the summary tab, if I click on mathematics, it's going to go ahead and I'm in this specific child, Maria's template here. I see a description about what mathematics is in the primary classroom. That is also part of our scope and sequence that we automatically include. I will show you how to edit that, but you can basically create a custom description just to give parents a better sense of what these different areas are in the classroom and the type of things that are involved. And that can actually be per cycle year. So it can be different for from cycle year to cycle year. Then you have a note. This is a anecdotal note that is being shared by the teacher about this specific child. And then you have, again, it doesn't tell you a whole lot. It goes through the different subcategories that this child worked on, the number of lessons that the child has been recorded as having done, and along with the assessment level. So it really doesn't give you a whole lot of information here. The next tab I want to show you is the comprehensive tab, and we're going to go ahead and click on mathematics again, and it's much the same in terms of the description for parent education, the anecdotal note about the child, but then you see the different lessons that the child was engaged in. So this is obviously much more information, and it's up to you to decide how much you wish to share with the parents. Now everything is laid out here for everything that has been recorded for the specific child over a period of time. Now if the child has been documented as having worked with the 100 board a half dozen times over the course of the semester, we're not going to list that out multiple times. We're only going to list it once, and we're going to list it with the appropriate element or measurable learning objective and the current highest assessment level. So she worked with the 100 board 6 times, and she's currently at the working level. She just has the working level listed. But this is everything that she's done in math over this period of time here. Another nice benefit here is that you have this ability to go ahead and really educate parents. This is again part of our scope and sequence, is that we're providing you with parent-friendly descriptions about the materials in the classroom, and in many cases photos as well. Speaking as a parent myself of 4 Montessori children, it is not incredibly intuitive, what these what are the academic aims behind all these different materials in a Montessori classroom. It's a lot like learning a new language, and instead of basically just trying to get the parents to take a crash course or on Montessori knowledge, this is a nice way to help them to kind of learn alongside the child. So these are the different things that the child was doing in math that the teachers in the classroom have recorded, and then you get the descriptions and the images as well. All of this, while it's part of our scope and sequence, can be edited. So if you use different terminology for the lessons, or you want to take photos of your own classroom, or you want to go ahead and change the descriptions around, you can do anything that you would like. Not all of the lessons have photos. We have several hundred, specifically in the primary classroom, sensorial, language, and math, practical life. We do not have many for elementary, so that might be an area you want to go ahead and build onto. So let's click back there. So that's the comprehensive tab. Now, the progress report, in fact, all reporting in Montessori Compass is dynamic. That means that you can go ahead and run a report, but still go ahead and make changes to it. So let's go ahead and take a look at math here. So here's all the things we have here for math, but if I forget something, if I maybe look at this and think, you know what, it might be missing something, I can always go back and make changes. Couple of things that I would recommend as kind of best practices here. I would, first off, anyone who is using an iPad in the classroom or an Android tablet, that's great. We love tablets, and they're handy as heck to go ahead and record things in kind of real time in the moment. If it's progress report time, put the iPad down. Strongly recommend using a laptop or a desktop. You're doing a lot more typing and you're doing a lot more different things that the tablets do have limitations, and you'll find it will be a lot just easier to deal with on a laptop or a desktop. So strongly recommend doing that. One of the things that I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up several tabs here in my browser. A really handy tab. We had a school recently that had contacted us and said, you know what, we don't have any math lessons on our progress report. You know, what's going on? And so we asked them to go ahead and check out their classroom progress at a glance, which everybody has access to. You go into your classrooms, you click classroom progress at a glance, and then you choose whatever category you want. Go ahead and choose math. So right here, we have the number of lessons that have been recorded for each child in your classroom. And if you see something that's kind of out of whack, like for example, this child here, Lucy, she's got 0 math lessons recorded for her. So if she doesn't have anything showing up on her progress report, it's probably a pretty good reason. So this gives you a nice snapshot on each category, and you can drill this down further. This is the category, which obviously math is a huge category. You can drill this down to the subcategory level. You can drill it down to the lesson level and even the element level. So you can go down as far as you would like. But for the purpose of, something doesn't quite look right on the progress report, this is a really convenient tab to have access to. So I would keep this open as you're going through the process of editing your progress reports. The next tab that I would keep open would be my Students tab. And you see I'm opening up another window right now. And I'm going to go ahead and open up Maria's student profile, and I'm going to click on Records. If I wish to change the student, I would just go on down the list and choose a different student. And you have multiple ways to go ahead and view this. We're going to view the category levels. So let's go into stick with math here. And so here's the math scope and sequence. And we're going to go take a look at this area of the classroom, our decimal system. So this is everything that's been recorded for Maria. And I can go through here and see all the individual instances and so on and so forth here. So let me just show you how dynamic this is. So I'm going to go back to my progress report. And I apologize. I have 3 tabs open now. If you can see where my mouse is moving, I don't want anybody to get confused because I may click around a little fast. But just to be very clear, I'm using a laptop, and every modern browser, I'm using Safari right now. You could be using Chrome or Internet Explorer, Firefox, whatever you want to use. You can create these tabs. So I'm still logged into the same Montessori Compass account. I'm not doing anything different. I just open these up in new browser tabs here. If it's easier for you to use 2 different browsers, I could open up Firefox right now or Chrome, and I could do the same thing. But I'm using browser tabs right now. So let's go back to our progress report and let's take a look at math here. So here's everything that we've done in math, and maybe I'm taking a look at something and I say, you know what, we forgot to add a lesson here. So I can go on into her student profile and say, you know what, we forgot to add, let's pick one of these, the number rolls. So I'm going to add, you see how there's no stars next to the number rolls? But I know that I worked with her on that lesson last week. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add the record keeping right now. I can choose my elements here. We'll just go ahead and choose all of them. And I'm just going to go ahead and choose today's date. I could backdate it if I wanted to, but I'm going to save that. So now the number rolls has been added. Now I'm going to go and refresh her progress report, the comprehensive view of her progress report. This is the same progress report that I've already run, and now you will see that number rolls has been added. And in fact, it lists out the different elements as well. We recorded 3 different elements at the same time. So this number rolls lesson was not on her progress report. I realized it wasn't there, and I went and I made a change, and now it's updated. Now, this works the same. I could figure this out a month from now, and after I've sent out the progress reports and say, oh no, I forgot to add this, or I want to change a comment, Everything is dynamic. You can make changes at any time. That includes deleting. If I add the number roles and say, oh, you know what? I did not want to do the number roles, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete these. So I went ahead and I deleted them. And if I click refresh again here, go back to mathematics, you will see the number roles is no longer on here. Okay, so you can add or delete. Now that's doing it for the individual student. Now another tab that I would keep open, you're going to have a very busy browser as you're doing this, but this is I would strongly recommend keeping your daily dashboard or record keeping tab open as well. For those of you that are unaware of some of our newer updates here in the past couple of months, we've really overhauled record keeping to make it more flexible for you. You have the same search functionality that you had before, but you can also go ahead and search by student name, which is similar to doing what we just did by editing in the student profile. But the really what I think what is one of the best options here now is searching by curriculum category. So now we can go into mathematics, and you can now view it in terms of the scope and sequence here. So I'm viewing things in sequence. I choose whatever I want to go ahead and work on. So if I want to go ahead and document the 45 layout here, I can click record, and I can then document multiple children at the same time. I could also see very clearly who has been recorded and who hasn't. So the stars that are bold indicate the current highest assessment level. So I can see that John is at the master level and Williams at presented, and Maria has not yet been presented this lesson. If I did a group lesson for the entire classroom last week and I forgot to add it, I can go here and multi-select my elements. Remember, the elements are aligned to the standards. There is no correlation between the lesson and the standard. So if you're one of the schools that's taking advantage of the Common Core alignment and that's important to you, be sure you are choosing elements. And you have the ability to multi-select elements, which is a new feature as well. And I can just go ahead and I can multi-select students, or I can choose all students. So this is a really easy way, probably the best way, to backdate. So if I realize, oops, I forgot to record all these math lessons from the past month, I can go into my math scope and sequence, and I can go right on down the list here and just update however I want. So I just updated the 45 layout. I could go on to to a different lesson up here, and I could record that. And so I never have to leave the math scope and sequence. I'm updating everything all right here. So very easy to go ahead and backdate. And again, all of this is going to be reflected on your progress report. So if your progress report is looking a little bit lean, and you know that maybe you weren't actively recording lessons every single day in Montessori Compass. Some schools are using a combination of Montessori Compass and paper and backdating on the weekends and doing all different things. Whatever works for you. It's a very flexible tool that can do a lot of different things, but ultimately it's up to the teacher in the classroom to go ahead and document the activity however she or he sees fit. So we just make it very easy to go and hopefully accommodate as many styles in the classroom as possible. So that's how you go through the process of backdating and making sure your progress reports are all updated and ready to go. The next thing I want to show you would be, we're going to skip ahead just a moment because we have this teacher note right here. So we're talking about it. This is an anecdotal note for this specific child that a teacher wishes to share with the parents. So I'm going to skip ahead to the teacher comments tab. And you can see you can go ahead and add comments right here. You have a general comment for anything you wish to share about the child, and then you have the option to comment per category. So if I want to go ahead and edit something I already wrote, this is just a text box, and you can go ahead and add your comment. Be sure you click the Save button here. So if I want to go ahead and add another note, this is a test note, I click Save. Now you see that has been added. But if I don't, but you do have to click Save. This does not auto save like the record keeping in the daily dashboard. If I want to add a brand new comment, we don't currently have a comment for art, music, and movement. Let me add a comment. I could say Maria loves music, and I click Save, and now that comment will appear on both my comprehensive and my summary tab. Okay, so there's that comment that I just wrote, and it will also appear the same thing over here on the summary tab. So whichever option you choose, it will be available. Again, you really, in most cases, do not want to use both of these tabs at the same time. So that's how you go ahead and add your comments. The next thing I want to talk to you about is the standards. So the Common Core alignment is something that, again, takes place automatically behind the scenes. So when you record that the child worked with the Montessori lesson and you chose the element or measurable learning objective, it is that element that is then automatically aligned to the individual standard. So at no point during the record keeping workflow do you need to spend any time thinking about standards. It's, you're in a Montessori environment, you stay in the Montessori environment, you document what the child's doing, and then you're right back to work. That alignment is there when you need it. And this is an example of a time when you would need it, progress report time. So here is, let me go into the student's profile as well. Where was my student profile? Okay, so we're in students. Here, let me go back to the beginning. Students. I choose Maria's name. I choose records. This is where all the record keeping is for this individual child. And now on my default view is the category view, but I'm going to scroll down to the standards view. So let me click on standards, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose whatever standards category that I'm looking for here. Now we're in a primary classroom, so we would have the kindergarten standards. You'll be looking for things that have the word or the letter K. All of the verbiage is straight from the U.S. Common Core State Standards. So all this, the codes, K.cc.a, that's all straight from their site. So if I click here, I can see how she's doing on this specific standard here. Count to 100 by ones and by tens. That is a standard in mathematics, kindergarten, counting, and cardinality. So all of these different lessons, the golden beads, the numeral cards, the 100 board, and so forth, all of these different lessons and then these corresponding objectives are all aligned to this specific standard here. So I can see, if you see where my mouse is circling right now, 9 of the 11 elements that are aligned to this have been met by this child. So now I'm going to go back to her progress report. All right, again, I'm just in a different browser tab now. I'm in her progress report, and I'm on her standards tab, and I'm going to go down to, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to go down to my kindergarten, counting, and cardinality, and here's that same exact standard here, count to 100 by ones and by tens. And I can see in this example, 6 of the 11 standards have been, or elements have been met. The reason for the difference between the two, this is everything that she's ever done. The progress report is indicative of the time frame. So we have dates on the progress report. So that this is saying during this specific time frame, she's done 6 of them. Then I have the option here to go ahead and assess the child. I could say, I could click on any of these options, basic, proficient, advanced, whatever you want there, and you can just click through and change them around. You can also add a comment here. And share that with the parents if you would like. And you also have the option to exclude standards from the progress report. So maybe this only says 1 of 11. Maybe you introduced a concept to her last week and she's only done 1 of them. Maybe you don't want to use the term below basic, or you just don't want to include it at all. So I can just I could click on that checkbox, and now that has been removed from her progress report. So you can share the standards, and you can share these specific math standards, but I just don't want to share that math standard. So you do have the ability to share or to not share on everything in the standards. You can opt to include standards or not include standards, but you can also opt to include individual standards or not include them. So you have a lot of flexibility in here. So that's how the standards work. And again, if you're questioning, what she's actually done, you would need to go over to the student profile and just have these open side by side, and you can click through very easily this way. It's a good way of doing it. So that's the standards reporting. The attendance is pretty straightforward. Number of days present, tardy, and absent. You have any of the absence. You have the reasons for while she is absent. So of course you can customize those reasons if you would like. These just all say unknown. It could say whatever you want. She had the flu. She was at Disney World. You know, whatever you want to go ahead and record. Um, Personal growth. This is a really nice feature that gives you a lot of flexibility. Um, Before we get into this, let me go back to the main progress report page here. And let me show you how you create these. Your Montessori Compass account should have included some default templates, and but you're able to modify them however you would like. So I'm going to click on where I am right now is in my backpack, progress reports, and I'm going to click on the personal growth templates link in the upper left here. Okay, so here are my different templates that I have created here. I'm going to go into my primary one, and here is my personal growth. So this is very similar to what is the default one that's on your site right now. Mine might look a little bit different because this is a demo site that gets beat up. But you basically have these different categories and these different items that you wish to assess the child on. If you want to go ahead and make changes, so for example, interacts with peers. Maybe I want to refer to that as something different. Interacts with instead of peers, other children in the classroom. I just want to call it something different. And maybe I don't like the terminology seldom, frequently, and always. Maybe I want to call it basic, proficient, and advanced, or reluctant, satisfactory, enthusiastic. There's several options here. We do have schools that ask us to add additional ones here, and we're eventually going to make this something that you can customize yourself. For the time being, we would recommend if you don't like any of the default options here, that's fine. You have two options. You can choose to a numeric value, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then use your legend to explain what the terminology is, or you can just choose no assessment required, and then there won't be an assessment, and but you can comment. So if you use different terminology for assessments, instead of using hours, you can just assess them in the comment field. So that would accomplish the same aim. You can also go ahead and resequence these however you would like. If you want the interacting with other children in the classroom at the bottom, and you could go ahead and do that. If you wish to go ahead and add questions here, you click add. Again, you just give it a name, choose your assessment terminology, insert it wherever you want in the sequence, and then click create, and then that will become available. So you can, of course, delete as well. If you want to break these up, you can create another category. So this is a new category, and I am going to create that. So now I might want to categorize these and create, have something called personal growth and something called something else, and so forth. So this gives you a lot of flexibility to create a template that is very unique to your school. And really, you can get very, very specific. You can have an infinite number of questions in here in different categories. And we've had some schools use this as the basis for the entire progress report. Maybe they don't wish to show a summary or a comprehensive. They don't want to share exactly what the child was doing with the different materials, but they want to say what the child how they've really been developing. The personal growth gives you a lot of flexibility to do pretty much the same thing that you would do with a paper progress report or a Word doc or something. You can duplicate that here. You create that template, and then it's reused over and over and over again. You just choose the template that you want, and you would obviously have a different one for primary versus toddler or lower elementary. You would have different ones. So let me go back to my templates. And I'm actually going to go click back on the progress reports page, and we're going to go back into that sample progress report that we were talking about. And now I'm going to click on the personal growth tab. And again, if I had multiple categories here, they would show my different categories. I click on that, and this is how I go ahead and I assess the child, and I add my notes here. So interacts with their peers, well, she always does that, or frequently, or maybe it's not applicable. So because you're using the same template for a mixed age classroom, you might have something down here that might not be that may be more geared to the older children in the classroom. It may be something that you wish to assess a kindergarten student or a third year student on, but not your first year students. So if something is not applicable, you can just put not applicable, and that's a way to remove any sort of anxiety for parents. Or, oh no, my child isn't doing these things. Oh no, that's a problem. I need to be worried about it. Well, no, you don't need to be worried because they're a first year student and it's not applicable to them. So don't worry about it. So it's a nice way to kind of ease any sort of anxiety parents might have. By having some sort of a negative assessment. So you can go ahead and assess them accordingly, add whatever comments that you would like. Um, Another best practice you may want to consider, some of these, as you get to doing these, some of these comments may kind of be the same. Maria enjoys interacting with her peers and working in a collaborative environment. Now, that sounds nice and anecdotal and personalized, but, quite honestly, you got 20 other kids in the classroom, you might want to add, use that comment again, right, and just change the name. So you can always copy and paste out of here. We don't have a way of sharing comments between students, but a best practice would be you could just kind of keep a tab open and jump into a different student's progress report editing, and then go back and forth. So if a child has some similarities to Maria in this example, I could go ahead and reuse some of these. Or maybe I want to add these comments to a Word document or a Google Doc or something like that, and just have these available for a very quick copy and paste, and maybe I just edit them slightly. Again, just all ways of minimizing the amount of time involved in generating the progress report. If you're doing these things, in the past where you have the various notebooks and binders that you're pulling together and all the paper record keeping, you would have to handwrite all this stuff again. But you can take advantage of a lot of kind of copy and pasting and modifying and editing however you see fit to really trim down the time. We've had schools tell us this shaves off many, many hours of the process of doing these progress reports. So there's just have to figure out what sort of techniques work best for you. So that's the personal growth template. The teacher comments, again, we talked about that. Is where you're going to add your comments. And then the last thing I want to show you would be the legend. Before I do that, let me go back out, and she will click on the progress reports. Now, remember we talked about personal growth templates. You're creating a custom questionnaire and things that you wish to assess the child on. A legend is similar, where you're creating a template, but in this example, it's basically just a blank document that you can go ahead and record anything you want. So a common use case for this is to explain what's the different assessment terminology that you use. Again, not intuitive, especially to new Montessori parents who aren't really familiar with this sort of stuff. It's a good way to let them know this is what presented means, this is what working means, or whatever assessment terminology that you use, a 3-point scale, a 6-point scale, whatever you use, you can kind of go over some of this. You could also use it as a nice sort of an introduction. Hey, it's been wonderful to work with your child this semester. You're, in a Montessori classroom, we learned so many wonderful things, and it's whatever you want to do. It's kind of a nice introduction. This is how the progress report works. This is how record keeping is done in a Montessori classroom. This is what we do at our school. Any sort of things that you wish to go ahead and have as part of the progress report that serves as the introduction or the ability to just convey to a parent, this is what you're looking at here. Because a parent might get in here and look around, and this is a lot of information. I don't quite get it. This is a good way to convey to them, to really help them to really make the most use of the progress report. So you create this template, and you can have as many as you would like here, and then you would go ahead and apply that template. So if I'm going to create a brand new progress report right here, again, just as you showed the summary tab or show the comprehensive or show the standards, I choose from the available personal growth templates that I have, and I choose from my legends as well. Maybe I have 10 different legends in here. They'll all be available, and you choose whichever one you want to choose. Now, very important to note that the one thing that is not dynamic are the two templates here, the personal growth template and the legend template. You can make changes to them in terms of the assessments or the comments. What you cannot change is if you choose the primary personal growth template and it has 10 different questions on it, and then I apply it to a practice report and I edit things, I get all my 20 kids done and I publish it to the parent site. I can still go back and change the assessments or I can change my comments, but I can't change the questions. And that's because you've already sent those out and it's a template. I can edit the template for future use. Maybe I want to add 5 new questions on it for next semester, and that's fine. You can do that, but that would not do any sort of harm to previously run progress reports. So that safeguard is in there. You're not going to lose any of the questions or assessment items that you had on previously run progress reports. So let's go back into our progress reports again, and we're going to go into the one that we've been looking at here. Go back into Maria, and we go to our legend. And that's just how the legend appears. There's no editing from right here. So I would make sure I would want this to be edited before I go in and use it. So now we're done and we're happy with the way the progress report looks. And again, when you're done, you just click ready to publish and it's basically in your completed pile over here. And then when you're ready to publish to the parents, the easiest way to do this, we have a lot of schools who absolutely love the parent communication Montessori Compass and use the heck out of it. We have other schools that are more reluctant to do so and are communicating in different ways and are not using the parent portal. So it's not a must to share the progress reports via the parent portal. It's just the easiest way of doing it. So the easiest things, even if you haven't turned on the parent communication yet, you can do so at any time. Let the parents know, hey, these things are ready to go. Check out your progress reports. They're online. They're viewable. And this would be the easiest way to do it. If you do not wish to share the progress reports via the parent portal, you can still use Montessori Compass. You would then just go ahead and print this report, and we're in Maria's report. You have different text boxes here that will choose what you want to report. Now, keep in mind, this is going to go ahead and create a downloadable PDF that you can go ahead and download. You could email it to the parent if you want, or you can print it out and share it with them. If you're using, especially if you're using the comprehensive, and I'll show you, this can get really, really long. This can be upwards of 15, 20 or more pages, depending on how much record keeping you've done for a child. And so if you're printing, that's something to keep in mind. So if you want to conserve paper, if you're required for whatever your reason is to have a paper copy of this that you hand to a parent or you put into a filing cabinet, that's fine, but you might want to uncheck the things that are maybe not important that you don't wish to share. Like comprehensive would certainly cut out the most of it. But let me go ahead and print all of it. And it's going to go ahead and it'll take a moment to go ahead and round all that data up and basically take all the data that you had on the web and convert it into a downloadable PDF. So now I have this PDF that's on the screen. You'll notice the legend is the first thing that's on there. So that's kind of your introduction to the parents. But you see in this example, it's 28 pages. This is a pretty big progress report. So there's a lot of information here. So if you're going to be doing paper, we just, you might want to uncheck some of those boxes so you're not printing out all of this and, killing a whole forest of trees at the same time here. But sharing via the parent portal, that's the most green, eco-friendly way of doing it, and just the easiest for you because it's a single click. Let me show you that again. If everybody's ready to be published, I click publish all, boom, all 20 reports are shared to the parent sites. The parents would then receive a notification via email letting them know, hey, you have a progress report, click here to take a look. So all of that information is, so parents are updated, right then and there as part of our parent communication. So it's a really easy way of doing it. One last thing I want to show you in terms of editing before we open it up for questions is let's go into mathematics here. And remember, we have this this kind of canned description as part of our scope and sequence to talk a little bit about what mathematics is in this specific classroom that's cycle year appropriate. You can make changes to that in your curriculum. So while that's again part of our scope and sequence, much like the entire scope and sequence itself, you can make changes. I can change the lesson names. I can create my own. I can, I can archive things I don't want to look at. I could change the photo, change the parent description. Everything is editable. For changing the category description, edit categories. I clicked on curriculum. I'm going to click on edit categories. And here's all my categories I have in the scope and sequence. So let's go into math. I'm going to click edit. And you see this is where all these descriptions reside. Again, the goal here is just to let parents know what is mathematics, what is sensorial in a Montessori primary classroom. Again, we have this in here already, but you can change it. So this is also cycle year appropriate here. So if in a mixed age classroom in the primary room, PK1, PK2, and K, or whatever cycle year terminology you use at your school, you can have something different for the kindergartners than you would maybe for your first year. So your third years maybe do extra stuff. So I could say that I could go ahead and change that and have that be something that is different. Once I have this all set up, I click update, and these descriptions will be updated accordingly. So, and again, all of that is going to be dynamic as well. So I can make whatever changes that I would like at any time to the descriptions. And with that, I think I've covered pretty much all the key aspects of the progress report. Hopefully you learned some different tips and best practices and so forth. And Tim, I'll turn it back to you and maybe see if there's some questions.
I see one or two here. Actually, it's both at this point are from Ann Curry. She says, just a question as to whether Montessori Compass has standards for the UK curriculum available to compare it, or if it's only the US and the Common Core standards. Would this be something that you would think of doing for schools?
So the answer is that currently our scope and sequence that was developed in collaboration with the Montessori Foundation has been aligned to the U.S. Common Core state standards. We do not currently provide any other alignments to any other state or provincial or national standards. However, you are able to go ahead and do that alignment on your own and utilize Montessori Compass for that purpose. You just basically have to take a look at the scope and sequence, and I'm not going to simplify it. It's a pretty momentous task to go ahead and do so. It took a team of quite a few very smart educators a whole lot of time to go ahead and do the alignment that was done with the foundation. But it certainly can be done, and you can go ahead and the software from a software perspective, the software doesn't care what curriculum you use and what standards you use, and so the short answer would be you can edit it however you see fit to a different set of standards and go ahead and do that. But as far as the content to standards in other parts of the world, we don't offer that at this time, but it is something that we would certainly consider if it was the right opportunity, and we would also consider working with other partners on those sorts of projects in the future.
All right, that's a very good point. You've had other countries that have approached Montessori Compass about developing entirely different versions of curriculum that are specific to their nationalities. And that certainly could be done in the UK as well if a group of schools got together and wanted to do that. Um, we have a second question from Sally and Muggy asking whether you'll be creating standards that are associated with QRIS to help preschools meet this upcoming need. QRIS is quality rating, um, gosh, uh, indicator scale, I think is what that stands for. And there are actually a number of different instruments. It's not a curriculum. Um, I think that that's a question that we'll throw out to Dr. Anita Amos because she's looking at that quite a bit and figure out what exactly would provide you with the best equivalent of that. I think there's an early childhood rating scheme that's out there. It's not necessarily being used by each of the states in their own individual QRIS system. But there has been talk of trying to align Montessori Compass at the lower age levels for that. For the most part, I think you're going to find that Common Core will help. It's just with those 2, 3, and 4-year-old children that are not covered by the Common Core standards that Sally has a good point that it would be helpful if we could do that. Anyone else have any questions? Feel free to jump in. I'm not seeing anybody raising their hands or anything like that. So I'd love to hear from some of you in terms of how are you doing, or did you find today's webinar helpful? I'm not seeing anything pop up. So I would say that having watched it, Rob, while you went through it at very rapid speed, I want to remind everyone that we recorded this, that I'll convert it and I'll upload it to YouTube before I go home today. I'll send everybody a link to that so that you'll be able to see it. And hopefully it will be helpful to you. I see another couple of questions and comments is trying to come in. Hold on. Sally congratulates you, Rob, and perhaps the foundation as well, saying I've found the support that you provide excellent and appreciate all of your help, all of your efforts. Elizabeth Coburn says this was very helpful. I'd noticed some changes that needed to be made in the descriptions, but I didn't know how to make those changes. Now I do. Thank you. You're welcome, Elizabeth. Some more coming in. Lauren Speed from Newgate School. Very helpful. I'll be checking the recording. Thank you. Thank you, Lauren. And Alexandra says, yes, thank you. This is very helpful. I'm very grateful for all you do. Great, everyone. Well, not seeing any more questions. I just want to close by saying, first off, Rob, thank you. With 4 kids and an incredible holiday schedule, thanks for taking time to give this presentation. I suspected there were people out there, and I can see from the list that of the more than 100 people who signed up on almost no notice, that many people have sent me notes saying that they're going to listen to the recording a little bit later. So while everyone is out there either returning presents or taking the kids bowling or to the movies or to parties or whatever, that's what this season is all about. But for all of us who have been parents, everyone here has been a teacher or an administrator, this is also the time when you're hitting your head against the wall saying, how am I ever going to get all of those reports done in time? So I thought this would be a very appropriate thing to take a little bit of time and look at it. And I especially appreciate those teachers that came to me just before school ended and said, oh my goodness, I'm not finding all the information I want to share with my parents on the reports. What do I do? Which caused us at the foundation to scramble, contact Rob and Anita, make sure that we were clear about what had actually happened. And I want to reiterate something I said at the beginning. We had our Montessori Compass account set to send out reports to parents every day. And that sounded like a really good idea to me. What I didn't realize is that if we went home after 5 o'clock and entered any comment, then it went into the vapor.